What's up, everyone? Jared Sandler here with you. The Rangers with a trade today. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa traded to Minnesota along with Double-A pitching prospect Ronny Enriquez in exchange for Mitch Garver, Twins catcher who can also play first base and certainly would be an option as a DH. So let's quickly break this down first on the Rangers side, what they gave up. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is the more known commodity of the two players the Rangers parted ways with. When the Rangers signed Seager and Simeon, it seemed like Isaiah was without a role, especially because the thought was Josh Young would, if not right away on opening day, shortly thereafter take over the reins at third base. Now, with Josh Young's injury and the likelihood he misses, if not all, most of the year, the thought was, well, maybe Izzy does play third and they hang on to him for another season. But I just think that when the Rangers signed Seager and Simeon, and it became clear that Isaiah might not have a role and there was interest around the league, and that in combination with the fact that Izzy probably didn't have a long-term future as a starter with the Rangers, it just made too much sense to move on from him. Izzy wants to be a shortstop. He wants to be a starting player, and that confidence that he has is great. Unfortunately, the results haven't justified that, at least to the point where the Rangers need to create a spot for him. He won a Gold Glove at third a couple years ago. He was a really good defensive shortstop last year. I wouldn't say great, but he was really good. But unfortunately, the offense just isn't there. His sub 700 OPS with very little power, doesn't walk, so he's not getting on base a ton. And, you know, while the batting average is okay, if you're not walking and you've got a on base that's right around the 300, you know, you're really not that valuable. He's kind of a 9-hole hitter and wasn't necessarily showing the type of growth that the Rangers would like to see in order to hold on to him. And so I think Isaiah probably will be happier. Yeah, you know, it would have been great to keep him as a depth guy off the bench, but, you know, I don't think he wanted that. And, you know, when a guy doesn't want that, when he's got the confidence that Izzy has that he, you know, should be an everyday shortstop and he's not in that role, that might not bode well as far as chemistry. Ronny Enriquez is a promising pitching prospect, 21 years old, went to Double-A last year, didn't have a ton of success in terms of, you know, you look at the ERA, did strike out more than a batter per innings, got good stuff. I think there's some questions as to whether he's a starter or a reliever long-term. And he's the type of guy that if the Rangers traded him, you know, if they had him, this current version of Ronny Enriquez 4 years ago, you'd kind of be scratching your head like, man, like, you know, he's one of our better pitching prospects. Why did we trade him away? But the Rangers have done a lot of work the last couple of years to build up their depth in the minor league system, including on the mound. And so Ronny Enriquez is just one of many on a long list of pitching prospects. That's not to say, you know, he's not talented or without potential, but the Rangers are trading now from a position of strength. They've got the depth to make a move like this. In Mitch Garver, the Rangers get a catcher who has improved defensively. He is, you know, one of the guys who very early on adopted the one knee catching technique. He has improved a lot defensively and is known to be a good game caller and someone who connects well with pitchers. But what you most like about Mitch Garver is the bat. Career batting average in the 250 range, on base in the 340 range, slugging right around 500 with a career OPS around 850. He's been able to hit lefties and righties in his career, although he struggled against lefties last year. In 2019, Mitch Garver had 31 home runs in less than 100 games. So he's got a lot of power. One thing about Mitch Garver is he's got 2 more years of control, and catchers don't typically earn a lot of money in arbitration. So probably going to have a cost-effective catcher for the next couple of years in Mitch Garver, and a guy who, like I said, can really, really hit. What does this mean for Jonah Heim and Jose Trevino? Well, it might not mean anything. If the Rangers elect to use Mitch Garver primarily at first or DH, maybe they keep both those guys. Mitch Garver, one of the knocks on him is that he's struggled to stay healthy. So maybe the Rangers want to maintain their depth, or perhaps one of those guys is the odd man out. You know, you would think Jonah Heim probably has more value in a trade, but the Rangers also just traded for him a year ago. So perhaps they'd like to hold on to him. Jose Trevino is thought of incredibly highly within the organization, especially by pitchers in the organization. Very good defensively, but unfortunately just hasn't really grown as a hitter. And so I don't think he'd have as much value in a trade as Jonah Heim, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not the guy they would move on from. And again, the Rangers could keep all these guys. They could wait until late in camp to make a move to see how things shake out, because the last thing you want to do is get caught in a position with the catcher role where you're incredibly thin. So that's just a little bit on today's trade. I expect more movement from the Rangers here over the next few weeks. Looking forward to talking Rangers baseball with you.